not just the project and project management, but to go right back to the very contracting of it. And do we have in the construction contract and the project contract the ability to get out of it if the risks or the cost blowouts are too great? We have to have that discipline. The other issue is about priorities of projects. And we might be in a position where actually a whole lot of stuff that's sort of in the pipeline that we have contracts for, that we might just not be able to do. And we will have to say no to stuff if we're going to keep those costs under control.
Well, none of that makes sense because, I mean, social housing upgrades is a really good example. We're sitting at about 300 million, now it's at 429 million, but actually it's probably at about 550 million because there's some extra earthquake strengthening work that needs to be done. Now, some people are committed to doing that project. You can have all the engineers and consultants, external consultants sitting around your life, but at the end of the day, if that project heads over $1 billion, which is looking like it's going to, then you will have to pay for that. It's that simple. So at some point, you need to look at these decisions that are being made and find alternative, better ones.
The actual answer to the question is we've done a terrible job with our infrastructure. We've basically taken the money that we've actually had in for the pipes, for example, and we've put it into other big projects like cycleways and things like that because we wanted to do it. So it's not a case of the fact that we haven't had the money to actually look after things. The thing is we've prioritised other things on top of it. So the council just needs to get its house in order. We need to focus on the things that we basically are supposed to be doing. We need to do them well. Our maintenance around the city, and the inner city in particular, is atrocious. We look at Begonia House. The reason why they're talking about having to pull it down is because we didn't maintain it, because we took the money and we put it somewhere else. You look at City to Sea Bridge, they want to pull it down. Well, I think they want to pull it down because they want to put a cycleway through more than anything else. So then they fudge the numbers so that it looks as though it's that expensive to do up, you pull it down instead. So the reality is we're not focusing on what we're supposed to be doing, we're focusing on what we want to do, and it's created an environment whereby we are damn poor at the moment. You know, our debt level is atrocious. And at some point I think we're putting up our rates so that we can borrow more money because we're at our rating cap, rather than we're actually borrowing money to actually do operational things, which is atrocious again.
I have three major. Number one is I will bring engineering background staff in-house so that they can give us advice. The second one is that I don't want WellyTown City Council trying to be the first one in the world, and not in New Zealand, and also the top 10 in the world. What I mean is that the project, for example, the sludge minimization project is first one in New Zealand, and also like the top 10 in the world. And we should wait until the technology is more mature because that means cheaper for us. And also before the project, the sludge minimization project went ahead, they already predicted that they will have 50% chance to blow out of the budget, but they still went ahead. So I think they should stop. They should not have gone ahead. And number three is change the spending culture. Treat repair money as your own money. Thank you.
I've mentioned it in my two speeches today about private and government investment. We have, Christchurch has had between 14 and 16 billion dollars worth of taxpayers' money, albeit post the earthquake. Auckland's had billions spent on it, and to be quite frank, apart from Transmission Gully, I don't know of any large project the government's invested here. So we need private and government investment in our city. We've been the poor cousins for too long. Cost overruns, the town hall was 90 million, Andrew, just because I sat on that one, and it's blown out to 327. Absolutely unacceptable. It's cost Diane's right, we've got no independent advice there. Council staff has grown from 1,200 to 2,000, but we haven't got that expertise. I don't know what all those people are doing each day. Second largest employer in the city, but capability inside the organisation, and here's a goodie. No more closed door meetings.
agree that the way we've been handling our infrastructure is very poor. The blowouts are shocking. Now, the difference between the council and the council staff, or under the CEO, is the council is the governing body. So we're meant to be looking at what we're doing. We're meant to be critically assessing what the council officers bring to us and say that, is this actually the right thing? What are the options in there? We need to know, we need to have experience in this council to actually ask the right questions. Now, a lot of the times, when council officers bring projects to us, we just rubber stamp them. We're not getting all the options. So, the town hall, for example, when that came up, I found out about that in January of the year, and so I was told that there's going to be a blowout. So I said, well, you need to bring that to council so that we can actually have a look and understand what the issues are. But it wasn't brought to us until October. In October, I asked the question about how we actually got there. The council officer wouldn't tell us. And so I wanted the project reports for every month for the last year, but they wouldn't give them to me because the CEO said that we're going to make the decision to approve the $149 million blowout, so you don't need that information anymore. We need councillors who are capable, who have the experience to do these things on council. This is who you should believe. Thank you.
The next question is, do you want to amalgamate the council?
I need more information before agreeing with amalgamation. In my experience in 20 years in business is that amalgamation isn't a panacea for cheaper costs and more efficiency. Sometimes it works the opposite way. You look at Wellington Water, for example. You look at Greater Wellington Regional Council, for example. So yes, we need to look at ways of doing things better and cheaper, but I'm not convinced that amalgamation is the answer. Thank you.
Lower Hutt, the Regional Council and Wellington City Council are three of the most indebted councils in the country. That's a fact. It's been that way for a long, long time. There are huge benefits for being a region. We're about, if you look at the 4 satellite cities I've pulled outside the capital itself, which is only about 200,000 people, we're a region of 450,000 people. We're about the same size as Christchurch. So it makes good sense. There's a lot of things that we could do and operate as a region and promote ourselves as a region. There are some really good things going on in the cities to the north at the moment, and they seem to be buzzing along, but we get left behind. So I mentioned the projects that I think can get us going. So yeah, I think regionalisation is a good thing.
I'm undecided at the moment on this issue because creating a super city has its pros and cons. So at this moment, our own Wellington City Council haven't tidied up our mess. So I don't think at this moment other council it's a good idea to unite other council. So at this moment, I kind of like I'm undecided. Thank you.
Yes, I think amalgamation is inevitable. We are just a small area. I think the problem is we haven't yet proven that we can actually be efficient and get our own house in order. I think once we've done that, it'll be a lot more palatable to everyone to actually have one council in order. But you want to have trust in the council before you're actually relying on looking after such a large group of people.
I'm pro amalgamation because we need to get our services working better across the region. So that doesn't mean that we have to, from a governance point of view, be one super city initially, but we've seen with water is now under one metro authority. We've got lots of other things that could go under a single service as well, like voting. And then if we did that, then we could potentially look at bringing some of those services back in-house. But Wellington City is not big enough to do that on its own, but regionally it could happen, and Christchurch has that. Thanks.
Yes, I'm in favour of amalgamation because I think it gives us the opportunity to spread the overheads of running a council organisation across more people. So rather than having 4 mayors, mayoral officers, council officers, administrative officers, you can have one over a much larger spread of population. I think it's probably inevitable. I think once Metro Water is in place, that is going to consolidate a whole bunch of assets that will be run regional-wide. We already have transport policy managed on a regional basis. I think the other compelling argument is too, one of the things that is broken down for Wellington City Council is its relationship with central government. Central government will respond to representatives of a bigger population. So I think a city of 420, 430 odd thousand would carry a lot more weight than a city of 210,000, and I think amalgamation is important for that reason. My pledge is, if I'm elected as mayor, is over the next 3 years to lead a public debate about it. In the end, it should be a decision of people through a referendum, and that will happen at the next election.
I am supportive of amalgamation. I think using the 4 metros, Porirua, Wellington City, Lower Hutt, Upper Hutt with regional council makes sense because we know that people live, work and play mainly across those 4 areas. We've got a regional airport here. So we should be thinking about that and how we actually, gather ourselves together and represent ourselves together. But we don't need a huge city like Auckland, but sort of a solution tailored to us is the best way.
I'm fairly cold on the amalgamation idea. I have 3 questions that I'd ask about it. 1, is it going to be good for Wellington City? 2, will it be good for the region? 3, will it actually result in any cost efficiencies? We've got other examples in the country. Christchurch is twice the size of Hamilton. Their operating costs per person, city councils, is basically the same. Auckland is way bigger than Christchurch. Its council's operating costs are more expensive than Christchurch's and Hamilton's are, for that matter. So, looking across the country, we don't necessarily see that there's going to be a huge amount of efficiency to be gained out of that. The main reason that I sort of would be cautious of this is because I see Wellington as having some kind of economic challenges that it does need to resolve. Those challenges aren't the same as the ones that are faced by Porirua or Lower Hutt. So I think the risk is we treat amalgamation as some panacea to resolve our problems, when in actual fact it's going to stop us from resolving our problems because all of the council's capacity will be going into the amalgamation and there will be very little there to focus on because the city needs.
Hey, Mayoral tato. There's probably very sensible arguments on one side and the other on amalgamation, but the big question which really faces all of you guys on this issue of amalgamation is, would you be comfortable with this clown, or even worse, the incredibly boring clowns on my right, being mayor of a Wellington super city? Kia ora.
We've probably got time for one more question. This one. What will you do to make the central city safer and more attractive? Like safer?
I would incorporate our grand public transport scheme, which will do wonders to improve safety. So our key part of the Golden Mile will be Giant Moor, which will serve as our primary means of public transportation, which will do wonders to improve safety for passers-by. I'll leave you to ask the reason why. And then our second plank of that path is Giant Tuna, which will zoom down. They will be fantastic also for law enforcement officers. Giant genetically engineered tuna zooming down our both as public transportation. Those are fantastic means for our slightly scary fascist police.
Wellington actually has a surprisingly poor track record on safety, and you might be surprised to hear that it's not because of the homeless people sitting around in the central city. I think the stat is 1 in 4 Wellingtonians experience sexual or physical harassment in their life, and it's worse if you're female or have intersexual identities. What I believe that we need to change, and there are a few factors that cause this, but one of them is around crime prevention through passive environmental design, and this is focused around making spaces in our central city places where people don't actually feel comfortable in undertaking crime. Street lighting is an important part of that, but also upgrades like the building contribute. Can't wait to ask me another time.
The council's got to focus on what it's responsible for. So the street lighting, street cleaning, the CCTV cameras, and working better in with those other agencies that actually can help us with that as well, and working with the other agencies around the city. So first and foremost, we've got to focus on what we do best and what our responsibilities are, and working with our partners.
To the extent that city safety is or the city's been seen as unsafe because of some of the behaviour that people are seeing, the acting out, the behaviour that is seen as intimidating and threatening, even though that might not be the intention of the person doing it. The reality is we need to address those issues. I think the City Council has a city safety project going at the moment, which is working reasonably well, although we're also seeing a shift of people from the centre city into areas like Newtown and Kilburn. So those initiatives have to be pushed out. I think what's really important is that the City Council plays a coordinating role and a leadership role with the agencies who are best designed to deal with some of these issues, Wellington City Mission, Downtown City Ministry, Salvation Army, and make sure that they get the support that they need to do their job to help those people.
There's a lot of dead zones in the CBD because there's a lot of construction projects going on. So once the library is reactivated and the town hall, that's going to make a really big difference. One of the things that we forget is that we think about Christchurch. They've got the strip by the Avon. Anyone been there? It's a lovely little place. Wellington is, our CBD is ginormous compared to the CBD of Christchurch. We've got that long strip of the waterfront, and we've got all of these projects, construction projects that currently are activating businesses around. So once those construction projects are finished, which they're almost done, I think we're going to see a really big change. But let's not forget how big our CBD is.
For years we've been asking for total CCTV camera around the inner city. We've been asking for better lighting. We haven't got any of it. So if you have CCTV coverage, basically if you go into town and you do something wrong, you will be caught, you will be punished. We have anti-loitering bylaws, we have anti-alcohol bylaws. We don't get the police to enforce them. We have an issue around the impression of safety, a little bit even more than what we do in actual safety. Homelessness is a big part of this. We need to get the NGOs in the government departments together to actually work on solutions to this, because we're not solution based as much as we are ideology based. We need to get positive solutions so that we get rid of the issue. If you can't park your car for 3 hours in a public place, you can't park a tent for 3 weeks. It's just got to be a lot firmer view around that.
I have 4 major. One is that continue to support the current council's city safety plan. Number 2 is that I will support those charities. For example, EKTA Food Distribution, DCM, City Mission, Salvation Army. These charities close the gap between government agencies and the low-income people and homeless people's need. Number 3, I will support community patrol and CCTV. Number 4, I will give the CBD street a good clean in a regular basis. Thank you.
City safety is a perceptive, I guess a question of perception. I policed the city from 1976 to the very late 1990s, so I know a lot about city security. I think the council is doing quite a good job. I think we need to see better lighting in some areas. We can't just transfer problems like the homeless problem, because Andrew's right, it's just, we clean up the central city, like the liquor ban, it moves to Newtown, and then when you put pressure on that, it moves over the hill to Kilburn. That's exactly what is going on in this area at the moment. So, yeah, those things, I think we do those. I'd like to see an influx of police here as well. When I was the district personnel officer in 1993, we had 417 staff. There's nowhere near that number now for city safety, and I think we need that. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of the comments that have actually been made here. We do need more CCTV. We need to make the city cleaner, and we need adequate lighting. Well, much better lighting. Regarding the rough sleepers, there's actually a misconception that they're actually causing a lot of the problems. What I do is I live in Royal Meadows, I catch the bus down to work every day, and so I get off in Manor Street, walk back down Manor Street, Willow Street, and Lamb Key, and I talk to all these people that are there on the street. A lot of those people aren't homeless. They're there because they actually want to be, and so we need to find out why that is. One of the reasons is that they feel they want the companionship of being there. They like being on the street. So we need to address all those issues. We can do those things, and we need to the cooperation of all these different agencies to actually do this. But the answer is actually there in front of us. We're spending money on city safety on things like boardwalks and expensive toilets, but they don't solve the problem. But we can actually do it.
That's the end of our time. I hope all of you guys stay and have a chat with everybody. And I hope you all get a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and some chocolate biscuits. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.